When I went to the Tangled House seminar, I think it was comforting to me to be in a room full of other couples who walked the same walk my husband and I walk. That you knew that everybody in that room had a story to tell as well. And a lot of the time, when you are raising a child with disabilities, you are alone by its very nature. It's isolating to raise a child with special needs. And so it was nice to be in a room of other couples who were taking the time, the way we were, to strengthen our marriage, to be together, to realize that our son with disabilities is not the central focus of our marriage, that we together are a couple and we need to put our marriage first.
All right, marriage-centric versus child-centric. I want you guys to hear what I'm saying, okay? Think about what I'm saying. Child-centric. That's where the children's needs and wants are the center of everything. The center of everything. And the problem with that is that in a child-centric world, it ruins marriages and it can really hurt a kid. That's just the reality of it. Our children have no more need or right to have everything that they want and to not experience and be protected from everything than we do. Okay? We're stewards as parents. We're stewards of our children, both typical and special needs. And our job is to raise our children to become productive, fruitful, mature adults. Not to raise kids, it's to produce adults. Now that gets tweaked a little bit with our special needs kids, right? But what is the goal? What are we trying to do as parents with our special needs kids? We're trying to allow them to do what? Be all that they can possibly be.
You know, dreams for the boys and what we would hope that they could live on their own, that they could, manage, even if it's in a group home, that they are able to function and have purpose in life.
They can't be all that they're supposed to be if they're allowed to be the center of their world. Okay? Let me say that one more time. Your child will never be all that they can be if they're allowed to be the center of their world. Now, how does this happen? It happens subtly and progressively. It begins out by necessity. Okay? You find out that you've got a child with special needs, boom. It's Katie bar the door, man. It's like everything gets put on hold. What do we have to deal with? And you start digging into medical, and you start digging into resources, and you're digging into school, and you're digging into nutrition, and you're digging into all kinds of things. Out of necessity, your world starts going around that. That happens for any number of kinds of reasons. We say, after all, they're handicapped, they're disabled. How can we not do that? Well, they more than anyone needs to learn how to deal with pain and difficult situations, because guaranteed their life is going to be fraught with it. Now, hear me here. I am not saying throw them out the front door and let them find their way in life. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is we come alongside and we are there for them to help them at whatever level. We've got to come alongside them, but they have to learn to handle their life too, because they got a whole life ahead of them. We say, if we don't care for them, who will? What I'm talking about here is not care. I'm not talking about care. I'm talking about perspective with which we give the care. The basic realities of sheer time make it feel like it's impossible not to be child-centric.
When you never have time to go away as a couple, even for a few hours, even to Walmart, and recharge, it places an increased strain on the marriage. It takes a concerted effort to find time alone.
And then the last one, this one I think is very common, is they deserve it. After all, look at them. Why wouldn't they be the center of their world? Why wouldn't we do everything we can possibly do for them? And I would propose to you that yes, they do deserve to be loved, they deserve to be cared for, But you know what I want to add to the list? I believe that they deserve to have an intact marriage and an intact home to grow up in, to take care of them, that they can be a functional part of. I think they deserve that too. And that can't happen if we're child-centric. The other side is to be marriage-centric. Your marriage is the priority. It was created by God. It was intended for life, different than a lifelong responsibility. It's the cornerstone of family and civilization. It comes above all other relationships. It grows deeper than all other relationships, and it outlasts all other relationships.
That has probably been the biggest thing, knowing that we are engaged as a couple on board together with this.
It's drawn us together, but that doesn't make it easy. But we are our partners in this walk that we walk.
So how does this happen when you throw in this wild card of a kid with special needs? Jared, how do you propose to do that when we have all this stuff to do? Well, second point, marriage is not self-serving. When I say marriage is the center, it doesn't mean so you get everything you want in your marriage, because marriage is not self-serving. I happen to be one of those lucky guys that was raised in a home where I've got model parents. Not perfect by any example. I could get lost in telling about their imperfections, but model parents. There was never a question in our home of whether or not who was number one in our home. Raising 4 boys, my dad, he loved my mom, he served my mom, he protected my mom, he provided for my mom. He cherished my mom.
Jim and I never dealt with a lot of stress in our marriage. I give Jim credit for that. He's a rock. He was my rock during it.
Because we can't separate. I can't separate from Judy, and Judy can't separate from me. You know, we walk through this together.
If I could bring him today, you'd see a couple, little aged, hitting 70 years old this year, where their love has morphed into something so much better. And that is, their relationship is now about devotion. They are committed to each other. They know each other. They've done something because they've been marriage-centric their whole life, where they see something, you see something in them, you go, man, I want to have that when I get to 70. And by the way, they don't live alone. Because when my younger brother was 2 years old, he had a malignant brain tumor. And they had to try experimental stuff to give him a chance to live, because no one had ever lived 2 years with this kind of cancer at that point in history. Jeremy's 42 today. So I got a special needs little brother who is 42, works, but you know what? It's not uncommon that when we go to Walmart, that we're walking in, that we hold hands like he's my 10-year-old brother. But he lives with my mom and dad, and they continue to care for him, but they continue to be marriage-centric, and he knows it.
I think we had a commitment at time of marriage that no matter what would happen, we'd stick together, and we've always kind of been that way. So it wasn't as hard on our marriage as it was just part of life that happened to us, and we accepted it and dealt with it. And so here we are all these years later, fortunate enough that together we decided that we would raise Jeremy and take care of him.
It can happen. What I'm sharing with you right now is a paradox. It's seemingly impossible. What you're saying, Jared, and what the realities are don't seem to be able to go together. Welcome to the definition of a paradox. But it is true. And what I'm saying is, it's all about you, but it's not all about you. That's the thing we got to grapple with. It's you saying to each other, no matter what, you are the most important thing in this world to me. Even though I've got to go to work, even though we got to deal with this stuff, even though you are the most important thing in the world to me.
That was probably the most encouraging reminder to me, that not to be overcome by our child, but to know that together we can do anything.